Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. I'm Lucas, and today we're stepping into another set of intense Reddit stories. Real emotions, real consequences. If you enjoy stories that hit deep, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Let's get into it.
I found out my wife was in love with someone else because her work phone wouldn't stop buzzing on our bathroom counter. 10 minutes earlier, she'd walked out the door in clean jeans and a hoodie, said she was running to the market for plantain chips and paper towels. By the time the screen lit up with a message that read, "I can't wait to smell you again," my mouth went dry in a way no water fixes. People talk about seeing red. I didn't. I saw the bathroom tile, white and the color of apologies, and I knew the night would split my life into before and after. I picked up the phone. It was warm from the steam. The thread was not a one-off. It was a climb, a staircase built out of dozens of messages, daytime jokes, late-night lows, little voice notes with the rhythmic whisper of sheets. An office name floated at the top, Colin, operations, and Mia, my wife, answering with heart faces and bad puns as if marriage were an optional subscription she'd forgotten to cancel. Keys in the front door. The hinge that squeaked every spring still squeaked. I set the phone on the towel next to her wedding ring, the ring she took off when she showered so it wouldn't get soap scum. When she stepped into the hall, hair up, receipt peeking from her hoodie pocket, I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "You told me your job was draining you. Now I see it isn't the job." I left both things there on terry cloth, bright as evidence, and walked out before the words could break me. The air hit like a slap. It was a Tuesday in Columbus, Ohio, late afternoon, gray skies sagging toward evening. I walked past the maple with the staring woodpecker, past Mrs. Lansing's inflated ghost still on her porch from October. When I got to the corner, I turned and kept turning, trying to pace a hole into the sidewalk until the heat under my ribs cooled. Mia called twice. I let it die in my pocket. A third time, a text, "We need to talk." I typed, "We will, just not right now." Then I shoved the phone deep and watched a bus grind by with students pressed to glass, all those lives going forward. We had been married 7 years. Mia worked in admin at a logistics firm near Hilliard, grew basil in the window, played true crime podcasts to fall asleep. I'm a cabinet maker and installer, the kind of man who knows which screw to use without staring at a chart. 2 summers ago, I built us a bench under the cottonwood by the river, and she said the wood smelled like church, and we laughed, because neither of us had been in a church in years. Ordinary vows are sometimes the hardest to keep. The story we told friends was simple. We met at a food truck, we liked the same dog rescue post, I liked her laugh. The truth was, I liked how sure she seemed of me. The first weeks of the second phone, I didn't name. It was easy. "Work phone," she said. They issued it because Teams calls keep dropping on mine. She would take it everywhere like a toddler with a favorite blanket, to the laundry room, to the bathroom, to bed, face down like a creature that only sleeps in the dark. When I joked about it, she smiled tired and called me sweet, and I decided tired was a place a person could live. I walked by the Scioto Mile and watched a kid drop a pretzel and cry like the world had ended. The kid's dad wiped off the pretzel on his jeans and handed it back, and it was okay. I tried to picture a version of myself who could wipe off what I just read and eat it anyway. The first real win hit when I turned toward home. I could look through the kitchen window from the side yard and see our sink and a little stupid ceramic chicken for sponges. I could also see Mia pacing with both phones. She set the work one down, then picked it up, set it down again. The ring was no longer on the towel. For a second, I thought about the day I bought it, how the jeweler called the halo cut timeless, and how silly that word sounded now. I didn't go in. I texted her, "I need an hour." She wrote back, "Okay." The okay looked small. I pictured her thumbs hovering over a longer sentence and deleting all of it. I drove to my shop. When you make things out of wood, you learn to trust structure. You learn that weight transfers, that a joint holds because both sides honor the shape. Standing in sawdust with the radio off, I felt a pressure in my chest that had nothing to do with the saw. I pulled the stool over, sat, and opened her messages again. It wasn't smart to do it twice. I did it anyway. There they were, the winks, the midday jokes about shipping delays, a photo of a hotel room about 8 miles from our house with the curtains half closed and her toes in the frame. The message caption said, "Working lunch." The timestamp said 2018 p.m. on a Wednesday when she told me she had a dentist appointment. Beneath it, a calendar screenshot. You could see the corners of days, stand up at 9000 status review, then a block called vendor run, lunch with a vendor that smelled like him. My throat tightened. I scrolled up and saw a date 2 months back where he wrote, "You always smell like orange peel and soap." I thought about our shower, the brand she liked because it said sea salt on the bottle as if sand could wash you clean, and I could not move. When the hour was gone, I drove back. The house smelled like lemon and heat. Mia was at the table with red eyes, tissue paper around her like she'd unwrapped the sadness. The ring was on her finger. She started, "Josh, Please don't lie," I said, "at least not tonight." Her mouth trembled like a person's mouth does when their body knows their story is about to fail. "It started with a project," she said. "He was helping my team and it got blurry. I didn't mean..." Meaning is not the point. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded like someone reading instructions. "You said it was work that wore you down. You came home and told me they were using you up, and now I know it wasn't the work. There are words you can't return from." I watched mine cross the room and sit between us. She reached for me and stopped. I don't love him, she said. I swear. I felt seen. I laughed. It was a fast, ugly sound that came out like a cough. You were seen by me every day. She closed her eyes. You were steady. It's different. Steady, like a wall, like a thing to lean on until you find a door out. I took a slow breath and looked at the place where her phone and ring had sat. I pictured my hand setting them down and stepping away. I'm going to sleep at the shop, I said. We'll talk tomorrow. We'll talk about what to do, but we're not going to perform tonight. Please don't leave. I have to. In the doorway, she said my name like a word she had never learned how to say. I kept moving. I slept on a drop cloth that crinkled when I turned. When I finally slept, I dreamed I was sanding a table that was also the ocean. I woke with my mouth full of salt. Morning brought inventory. That's what my brain called it. I made coffee in a dirty mug and made a list in a cheap notebook like a foreman with a clipboard. It said, talk to someone, gather facts, don't explode, decide. It said, if there is a fire, don't pour gas on it. I called my sister Hannah. She teaches 4th grade and swears like a sailor in the gentlest voice. When she picked up, I told her the headline. Then I told her about the message that started with smell. People who cheat always think they're poets, she said softly. I'm sorry, Josh. What if I missed 1,000 signs because I was busy being steady? You missed them because you're not a detective by default, she said. You were busy being married. I told her about the hotel photo, about the calendar blocks named for meetings that did not exist. Do I confront him? Do I call his boss? Do I set fire to his Prius? Don't burn anything, she said. Not even his playlists. Get a lawyer. You need someone that is not you to tell you what the next right thing is. I wrote lawyer on the list. Then I wrote proof. It felt ugly to write, like I was assigning a test to someone I loved. But I had learned enough from building to know that you set things on paper so the beams go where the beams go. Proof came faster than I wanted. It came like I had been living under a leak and only now looked up. At lunch, Mia texted a picture of her salad like people do when they want to look normal. The timestamp didn't match the calendar event she'd shared with me for the day. It wasn't crazy detective work, it was just noticing. When she said she was in the warehouse, her team status showed active from the office. Later that week, a charge hit our shared credit card for a boutique hotel bar in Grandview on a day she claimed to be on a site visit. I'd been in that lobby once to meet a client. They served cocktails with smoked rosemary and wrote captions for people who needed their drinks to be content. I walked into that lobby at 3 in the afternoon, and the woman at the desk smiled like I might be an afternoon man. I wasn't. I just wanted to know if the floor creaked. That night, Mia and I sat at our table with the ceramic chicken and tried to speak like adults. If you tell me the truth, I said, it changes how we move forward. If you lie, that also changes it. She pressed the tissue to her eye. I'm telling you, it's over. It ended when? A week ago. My mouth curved. Your phone said it ended yesterday. Her eyes flinched. It was a small muscle, a rabbit running under the skin. He texted me, she said. I didn't respond. You did, I said. You sent a song. Her mouth opened. He asked me to send a song when he was anxious. Then let him buy a Spotify subscription and a therapist, I said. We didn't shout, we didn't throw anything. But quiet can be louder than sirens. In the hollow between us, the life we had built made a small sound like an ice cube cracking in a glass. After she went to bed, I opened our laptop. I didn't hack anything. I looked at what I had access to because we had agreed to share the heavy parts, bills, dates, notes, a Venmo to a coworker of hers named Kay with the caption Monty Petey on a day when Mia came home without her ring and said it was at the jeweler's for a cleaning. Maybe it was, but Monty Petey was the kind of euphemism that stuck in your throat when you knew she'd lied about dentists. I clicked open a map app we used to share grocery lists and found the last saved places. Someone had typed in the address of a loft downtown. I stared at it until the numbers looked like letters. I wrote it in my notebook because a notebook doesn't run out of battery when your hands shake. The next morning, I called a lawyer named Barb who was recommended by a friend whose husband left him for a Pilates instructor. When I told her the basic outline, she didn't gasp. She cleared her throat, a practical sound. I'm sorry, she said. I know you're hurting. Here's what we need. Timeline, financial records. Any proof you have that shows this was an affair and not a hallucination in your head. Children? No. My voice cracked. A weird little mercy and a cut at the same time. Just us. All right, that simplifies some things and complicates others. Do not confront the other man at his job. Don't blow up at her company. It could make things messier for you later. Right now, your job is to be calm and gather. How am I supposed to be calm? Pretend, she said. And when you can't, call someone else and get it out. Then be calm again when you see her. She paused. I don't know you, Josh, but I know this story. It's not the first time. It will feel like it is. It will feel like nobody has ever had this exact pain. But there are people who can help you carry it. Let them. That afternoon, I stood in our driveway and looked at my truck. It wasn't a symbol, it was a machine. But it felt like the one thing that had never lied to me. I got in and drove toward Grandview with a knot in my stomach. I told myself I wasn't a stalker. I told myself I was a man finding his feet on a floor that won't stop moving. At the corner near the boutique hotel, I parked and watched 2 coworkers in blue polos walk by laughing about a shipment. I walked into the lobby like I was late. The air smelled like cedar. The same woman was at the desk. Can I help you? She said. I wanted to check if I left a phone here last week, I said, and described Mia's phone case. It's a work phone. She asked my last name and I told her. She looked at the screen and looked back at me with a neutral hotel face that had been trained to look like empathy. We don't have any phones logged, she said. But there was a day use reservation under Amia. She didn't say the last name. She didn't have to. 4 hours, last Wednesday. 4 hours is either a movie or a nap or an affair. I thanked her and went out before my face could show her anything. On the way home, I called Colin. It felt like picking up a snake I didn't want to see. He didn't pick up. I left a message that said, "We need to talk." He texted a minute later, "This is inappropriate, Josh. Please don't contact me." He used my name like he used his. Full stop, like we were two men negotiating a shipment of bolts. I stared at his reply and thought about my hands. I thought about what they can do and what they will not do. I put the phone down. When I got home, Mia was folding a shirt that wasn't dry. The damp spots soaked her fingers. "You went there," she said. "I did. I asked you not to do anything rash." "I didn't set anything on fire," I said. "I spoke to a desk. I saw our lives from a different angle." She pressed her palm into her eyebrow. "I told you it's over." "Then why did you text him at 11,047 last night to say you couldn't sleep without the sound of his voice?" She stared at the floor. We stood there for a long time. The fridge clicked like a metronome. When she finally spoke, it came out of her like something you push because it will not fall on its own. "I felt alone," she said. "You're so steady, Josh. You're like a wall. I wanted a window." The first thing that came to my mind was indecent, a word I'd save for worse things. The second thing was real. Windows need walls to sit in, I said. Otherwise, you're just outside. We had our first real fight that night. Not our first fight ever, but the first one where I could feel a future cracking under my feet. We didn't throw things. We threw sentences. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said. "You hired a hammer and aimed it," I said. "You were distant," she said. "Always at the shop." "I was at the shop making money so we could breathe," I said. "I was trying to be the kind of man you could lean on." "I never asked for a bank," she said, and then covered her mouth because even she sounded like she knew she'd smacked something holy. I heard myself say, softer than I imagined I could, "Mia, I loved you so openly it embarrassed me sometimes. I held your hand in a Kroger line like a teenager on purpose, and you taught a man at work to write you poems." She cried in a way that crumpled her whole face. I wanted to go to her because I'm a man who hates to watch anyone suffer. I didn't. "I can't fix that for you," I said. "I can't mop that with my shirt. You did that." Over the next week, the house became two small countries sharing a border. The bathroom shared toothpaste and grief. We talked to Barb again. We made a schedule for who slept where. I took the couch and woke with a back like a broken chair. I kept moving through steps like a person learning to walk after surgery. The third line of escalation came when I got an email from a friend at Mia's company. We weren't close. We grilled together once when the whole department came over for a summer thing. He wrote, "Not my business, but there are whispers. If you want to talk, I'm here." I wanted to throw my phone into the river and also never put it down again. I met him at a coffee shop near campus where students argued about a film with the intensity of war lawyers. He told me that HR had gotten wind of a possible relationship between Mia and Colin, and that someone had raised a concern about favoritism. I knew nothing about HR rules. I only knew the shape of a lie when you stand close to it. "Are you going to report it?" he asked. "I'm not here to ruin her career," I said, and heard the small, stupid nobility of it as it left my mouth. "I'm here to not drown." He nodded. "If it helps, people have eyes. She's not the first, she won't be the last, but it still stinks." He sipped his coffee. "You don't deserve it." Those words shouldn't matter. They did. They felt like a man handing me a towel at the pool where somebody pushed me in. That night, Mia tried to hand me a confession shaped like mercy. "We can go to counseling," she said. "I'll block him. I'll change departments." "You can do all of that," I said. "Counseling is a good thing. Blocking is a good thing, but I can't unknot this rope by myself." She came closer. "Do you want to try?" I thought about every small thing a person does to be married. How many times I turned off the coffee because she forgot. How many times she folded my shirts with the sleeves tucked just so. The ledger was long on both sides, but ledgers don't fix holes in boats. "I don't know," I said. "That's the only honest thing I can say." We had our second dialogue peak in the car, which is a terrible place to argue and the truest. "Everything you say there smells like air conditioning. Why didn't you tell me you were lonely?" I asked. "Why was the solution to hide and light one room while burning the house?" "I tried," she said. "Every time I said I needed something, you brought me the right thing. I wanted the wrong thing." "What does that mean?" "It means I wanted to be chased without running," she said. "I wanted to feel interesting without doing anything interesting." He looked at me like I was a surprise. "You are a surprise," I said. "You married me and slept with someone else." She flinched. "That's not fair." "Neither is life," I said, and I didn't like how hard I sounded. I am not a hard man. I'm a man who can carry a door by himself and still ask if you want lemon in your water. The point of no return wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a TV moment with a suitcase thrown from a second-floor window. It was a Saturday morning with light on the floor like squares and the smell of coffee and the realization that I could never unknow the smell in those messages. I watched her pour cereal into a bowl, watched her shake the box to make the last soft pieces fall, and I heard my own voice say, "I'm moving out." She set the box down. "Where will you go?" "The shop for a bit." Then a small place near the river. I saw one on my way to a job. My throat thickened. I'll drop off the keys when I'm not here at night. We can talk through the rest with Barb. I don't want to be cruel, but I can't be this. She pressed both hands flat on the counter like you press on a stubborn sticker. I hate me, she said. I don't, I said, which was true and a betrayal of myself. But I can't live with you like this. We split the utilities and the spoons. I took the skillet with the good handle. She took the Dutch oven her aunt gave her when we got married, blue like a swimming pool. I took the bench I had built under the cottonwood because wood that you tame with your hands has your name in it forever. The rest we left to the lawyer and the accountants and time. There was a small justice I never planned. 2 weeks after I moved into the one bedroom near the river with the view of the parking lot and a slice of sky, HR opened an investigation. Someone had turned in the rumor like a found wallet. I had not brought the wallet to them. But the world sometimes notices its own mess. The company separated Mia and Colin onto different projects. Colin's contract quietly ended. Mia switched teams and started commuting from the other side of town. She told me over the phone like she was reporting the weather. I didn't do this, I said. I know. I'm not glad, I said, lying a little. I am, and I'm not, she said, honest and messy. I wanted consequences and I wanted none. We had our final dialogue peak the day I came to collect my last box of clamps and chisels. She stood in the hallway with a mug I had made crooked on purpose because I like a cup that isn't ashamed of being held. I was wrong, she said. I put you where furniture goes, and I was mad when you didn't sing. I build things, I said quietly. I've never known how to sing like that. I hope somebody hears you anyway, she said. And then she looked at me the way a person looks at a boat they built and are about to push into water they will not swim in. I'm sorry. I believe you, I said. Believing you doesn't fix it. She nodded. I know. She slipped her ring off. She didn't hand it to me. She set it on a towel on the counter without thinking. The same motion she'd made 1,000 nights before the shower. My chest tightened, not with anger, with grief for the circle that learned to leave her finger. You keep it, I said. Are you sure? Yeah, I said, and for the first time, it felt like a sentence with a period I could live with. Recovery is boring, which is why stories don't tell it much. Recovery is grocery lists and learning how to sleep alone without feeling like the bed is a cliff. It's making eggs one morning and realizing you don't have salt. It's texting your sister a picture of your new lamp because you were proud you bought a lamp. It's learning where light is in your new place and how to move into it. I ran by the river. I sat on the bench I had saved and drank coffee while the city stretched. I went to therapy because Barb said it would help the judge and because Hannah said it would help me. I didn't talk about Mia every time. Sometimes I talked about my dad and the way he loved quiet as if it were proof. Sometimes I talked about wood and the weird comfort of measuring twice both his craft and his life. Sometimes I said nothing. The therapist nodded and let me breathe. Months passed. The rawness softened into something like a scar. You still know it's there, but you don't press it in every conversation. I saw Mia once in the park. We said hello like neighbors who both knew the house they used to share had burned down and left a good garden. She looked thinner in the way stress makes you narrow. She asked about a bookshelf I'd been commissioned to build for a lawyer downtown with too many leather-bound books and a bulldog named Frank. I told her the bulldog drooled on the walnut and left a mark I had to buff out, and we smiled at the idea of a dog damaging literature. She said, "Are you dating?" I shook my head. "I'm running," I said. "I'm sleeping. I'm learning to make pancakes for one without making batter for 6. You always made too much," she said, smiling a little. "Yeah," I said. "That was the point." The divorce settled in spring. Papers have a way of pretending they are neutral. We signed our names, and the clerk stapled our marriage into a file and put it on a cart with other lives. I went to my shop and sat on the stool where I had watched the messages that first night. The stool squeaked and I laughed, and then I cried, and then I swept the floor because nobody else does. A man came in to get a quote on a kitchen island, and I wiped my face and measured a room with a tape that still worked. Here's the truth. Nobody told me. The day comes when you don't check her status anymore. It doesn't arrive with trumpets. It comes when you're sanding a panel and the dust makes your nose itch and a song you used to hate comes on and you sing it anyway because the room is yours. It comes when a woman at the farmer's market asks you a question about cutting boards and you answer without thinking about whether she would cheat on you in a hotel at 2018. It comes like a sunrise you forgot you ordered. In late summer, I installed shelves in a small shop near the park that sells candles and soaps. The owner, a woman named Elise with half-moon glasses, watched me level the brackets and said, "You move like you trust your hands." "They haven't failed me yet," I said. She nodded. "We stock an orange peel and sea salt scent that sells like crazy," she said, then laughed at her own sales pitch. "It reminds people of being clean." She handed me a small wrapped bar when I left. I opened it that night in my place and set it by the sink. It didn't make me sad. It made me laugh. The mind is a complicated room. A year after the towel and the ring, I hiked to Clear Creek with Hannah and her husband and their kids. The air was green, which is not a color but a smell. On the ridge, my nephew asked if I could make him a fort. "Yes," I said, and meant it in ways he did not hear. On the drive home, I realized I hadn't thought about Colin in months. I had, however, thought about whether to upgrade my planer, and whether Elise, the candle seller, had a dog, and whether it would be nice to cook for someone who isn't me again. Healing is not forgetting. Healing is remembering without bleeding. I don't know where Mia ended up exactly. I know she changed jobs. I know she sent one last text on the day the divorce finalized that said, I hope you're okay. I wrote back, I am. It was not a victory lap, it was a weather report, but it felt like good weather. If you need a moral, here is mine. Love without honesty is just performance. Steadiness is a gift until someone uses it like a shelf. Your peace is something you are allowed to protect. You do not have to bleed to prove that you loved. Sometimes I still see a towel and think of a ring. I still wash the same mugs. I still build tables. I still get up early and check the sky before the city wakes. And when a phone buzzes in a bathroom somewhere, it's not my house answering. Two questions for you. Where is the line between steady and taken for granted, and how do you draw it before it's too late? If you found the message I found, would you confront, collect, or walk, and why? If this story hit close to home, drop a comment with your take and subscribe for more.